Good morning. Today is Sunday again, so we won't do an activity, but I want to talk about two people that I know and have known that had an impact on my life. So, in order to talk about that, I'm going to first talk about Familias. Have you heard that phrase before? Familias. It's a Latin phrase and it means head of the family or head of the household or extended household. The connotation there, or the meaning behind the phrase, is that this person, the Familias, was to lead the household, but also to be an example to the household of what to do, how to act, and who to be. So today I want to talk about two Familias that I knew and an experience that I had with each one. The first is my father, your great grandpa Crandall, and the second is Nana's father, your great Grandad Wilson. Now, Grandpa Crandall was known for service for everybody that knew him. That was his favorite thing. He loved to help others, go out of his way to help others, and he did that often. When I was about 13 years old, my dad and I were on the way to priesthood meeting. I was just getting ready to leave, and he got a phone call from a family who we home taught at the time, I believe. And if we didn't home teach them, then we certainly visited their home a lot. And they were having trouble with one of their cows, and they asked if we could stop by. So my dad said yes, of course, and we headed off to priesthood with a stop by our neighbor's house. When we got there, we found out that they had trouble with one of their cows, and since Grandpa Crandall had some expertise in cows, we went out to have a look. When we got to the barn, the cow was down. Now, we're in our Sunday clothes. We both have suits and ties on, dress shoes. We're walking through a barnyard and getting our feet dirty. It wasn't the first time, of course, that we'd done something like that. But we go in the barn and the cow's down. We soon discovered that the cow was pregnant and was trying to have a calf, but the calf was breech, backwards, and would not come out. The cow was dying. My dad told our neighbor this, said, "I don't think she's going to make it. You better call a vet." And the man said, "Well, I can't afford a vet. Is there anything else we can do?" My dad said, "At this point, no, the cow's too far gone." So they talked for a few minutes, and the man finally asked, "Is there any way we can save the calf? I can't afford to lose both." And my dad said, "Well, there is a way. We can deliver that calf C-section." He said he had done it twice before in his earlier years, and it had been successful, but obviously it wasn't going to help the cow. She was going to die anyway. So my dad says that. I look at him, slack-jawed, going, "Well, we're going to do what?" And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that my dad had said that. But sure enough, that's what we did. That Sunday morning, dressed in our suits and ties, with dress shoes on, in a dingy, dirty, smelly cow barn in rural Louisiana, we delivered a cow. We delivered a calf, C-section. We cleaned it up and had it eating by the time we left. I was in awe of my dad. I knew about him. I knew what he could do, but I did not know that. I did not have any idea that that was in his wheelhouse or something that he could do. And I was a teenager, so I knew pretty much everything. Right, Evelyn? And so we went home that day. We did not make it to priesthood. We went home that day, and again, I had a newfound respect for my dad and a lot of questions. The next experience I had was with Grandad Wilson. Now, Grandad Wilson, to me, was always an example of fairness and forgiveness. But I think on this one occasion, we have to add mercy as well. Grandad Wilson had asked me to help out with a real estate partnership that he had with a gentleman, and to help oversee the project where the other man was purchasing and dividing and developing properties in Washington State, and Grandad was financing the projects. He had asked me to help oversee a little bit of the work and to make sure that the work got done and everyone got paid for their services. While I was doing that, over the course of time, Nana and I discovered that this man was committing fraud, that he was sending bills out that were false and fake for work that was done, and using that to collect money from Grandad that he was not due. In the end, it turned out to be a lot of money. At that time, it was probably 4 or 5 times the amount of money that a normal person would earn in a year. So it was a lot of money. When I discovered that, I was, of course, angry. I felt betrayed. I had worked with this gentleman, and then he had turned around and stolen or taken this money by fraud. I immediately told Grandad, and he said, well, he wanted to meet with the man. So I set that up. I contacted the man and his family and said, we need to have a meeting. And we did. Grandad and I went to the meeting, and I was loaded for bear. I was so angry, felt so betrayed. I had done all the research that I could. I had prepared all the documentation, and I'd even found evidence that this man had done the same thing to 2 other people on previous occasions. I had all that ready to present. When we got to the meeting, the man did not come in at first. His wife and one of his grown daughters came in and talked to us, and we eventually talked to all of them. Grandad listened to them. They pleaded and pleaded not to call the police or contact the authorities. I did not say anything. We listened to them. Grandad said he would have to think about it. When they left, Grandad turned to me and he said, I think there's a way I can help this man and his family. And I kind of stopped and said, well, we should call the police. We should contact the authorities. He said, let's hold off on that right now and not do it. I could not believe it. At the time, I was bent on revenge, if you will, of making sure that this person paid for what they had done. But Grandad had different ideas, and over time he had this man do some other things. He had to speak with his church leaders. He had to, try and do some restitution, but we did not, because of Grandad's urging, call the authorities or report this man. When I look back on it now, I'm truly humbled by what Grandad Wilson did. At that time, I could not have done what he did. And today, I'm still not sure I could. I'd like to think I could, but I don't know. I've never been faced with that situation. What I do know is I saw, at that time, an example of forgiveness and mercy that I'd never witnessed before. Truly was an example of Christ-like mercy, and something that I'm grateful for and grateful that Grandad showed me. So those are 2 experiences I had with different paterfamilias. 2 examples from your great-grandfather of service and forgiveness that should be, hopefully, an example to you, something you can draw on. That's my hope, at least, in sharing these experiences with you. That's it for today. This is Pop Steve's Workshop, and I'm Pop Steve.